Hi everyone, I'm Red Hill Eagle, and this is a brand new series on YouTube, Learn to Play TEW 2020. I'll be playing as ECW and using a December 1997 mod. This is episode 1, Taking Over a Company. I've never played with this mod. I haven't even looked at it yet, apart from I did change one thing. I changed the product for ECW. As you'd expect, it's quite a hardcore product, which isn't a problem in itself, but there are a few things in there that might have given us penalties when I'm trying to show you a few things, such as the fans. The fans didn't like cheap and tainted finishes to matches, and I think quite often with a lot of products and a lot of styles, there are times from a booking and a storytelling point of view, where you do want to have disqualifications and countouts, and also, if you want to get your heels, your bad guys, victories by cheating, you don't want your fans to be put off by that. You don't want to get penalties for that in game. So I've just changed the product to a no style, which is quite all round. I've never used it before, but it's quite an all round product, really, and we'll get going with that. If you ever come across this screen, don't panic, as long as there are no critical errors. If there are critical errors, you're going to have to go into the editor and change a few things around, whatever it sort of tells you that's wrong. But these ones here are just things like, the WWC World Junior Heavyweight title illegally begins in the future. So whoever created this mod has just put that title, that someone's got that belt on a date that isn't within the dates of the game, if that makes sense. We're starting in December '98, and that title reign might have begun in February '99 or something. Just things like that. Actually, tell a lie, it's December '97 we're starting. So let's get cracking. We will call this ECW, and we have all the game areas open there for us to get involved with. So we want a one-player game, and when you first start a game, you get all these avatars. I haven't changed the picture folder yet. I will do that. But you get people like, look, we've got Adam Sandler and Rupert Murdoch, Sylvester Stallone. I don't want any of those, so we go to avatars only. You can create your own user, or whatever they call it, user character, to put in the game if you want to play as. But we'll go with Paul Heyman. So what I did there was I clicked on the avatar where it said avatars only. Click on that to get all the characters in the game. And yes, we're going to play as Paul Heyman because he obviously is well known for ECW. In real life, he was the owner and the booker. So we're going to be the owner and the booker. And starting reputation, we're going to stick it to default. You could go to lowest, 0. You could go to highest, 100. You could go somewhere in between. All these numbers do is it's your reputation. So if you were going to start the game unemployed and apply for jobs, you wouldn't get a WCW or a WWF job if you were lowest or very low. You're probably going to need to be very high or greatest to get a job like that. That's all it is, really. It's just your starting reputation. So we'll go for default here. Password's optional. It's just for multiplayer games, really. I won't show you my preferences just yet. We might go for it at some point. User talents. Now, there is a cheating game where you can get all of these to be 10 out of 10. I used to do that because I didn't think it made much difference. But then I think sometimes it's nice to have just a bit of a challenge. So I do kind of have a thing where negotiating. The higher the number, the better the chance of you signing someone on less money. I normally go for about 6 there. Motivating. This is how well people will perform in ring, I think. I mean, everything's in here. If you click the question mark, it'll tell you what all those things do. But I think, off the top of my head, this is sort of like the higher the motivating is you're a better motivator. So your workers will work harder and perform better. I think I normally go for about 5 on that. Creativity. Things like how successful gimmicks are. I normally like that to be quite high as well. Leadership. This is all sort of backstage stuff, how good of a leader you are. The lower the number, the more trouble you might have. But I do tend to try and only hire workers that don't cause backstage problems. It's a little bit more difficult when you take over a company because you're stuck with who they've already got. But I'm going to risk it and we'll go for a 3 there. Diplomacy is I think, if I remember rightly, that is when if you're telling someone off for whatever reason they've caused a rift backstage or they've been found to use steroids, diplomacy is the higher the rating, the more chance you've got of keeping them happy with whatever you decide to do. I'm sure we'll get into some of that in game. I keep that quite low at 3 as well. And then Silver Tongue, this is if you want someone, I think, if you want someone to lose a match and they're not happy about it, the higher the rating here, the more chance that they will actually agree to do that, especially if you use things in game like keep strong or protect. Again, we'll go through all that when we get to it. So I'm going to keep that at 6 actually, and I'm going to put creativity up to 7 because I think gimmicks are quite important. Having said that, the product that we're using doesn't require gimmicks, but it does say they will have an effect if used. So we will use them, they will have an effect. So I'm going to give myself a 7 for creativity there. Save that, and we will play as this character. Yes, we do want to remove the unused user characters because I don't really want Donald Trump and Sylvester Stallone in my save. So we'll remove those. We'll start off with ECW. Could start as unemployed, could start as booker, but we want to be the owner. If you start as a booker, you have an owner who's in charge of you, and they set you certain goals. I don't want to be restricted. Things like they might say you're not allowed to hire any technicians or any high flyers or anything like that. And there's obviously a lot more than that, but we don't want those sort of restrictions. So we're going to play as the owner. This is the screen you start the game on. There is an option to change it to your office, but I always have it on this screen. I don't know why, because I never read anything that's on there. So let's go straight into, I want to show you our product. And as I said, I've changed it from extreme hardcore to no style. And a lot of people forget about this aspect of the game. They don't ignore their product, but they kind of select a product and then kind of forget about it, and they wonder why they're not getting certain results or whatever. And you really need to keep an eye on things like this. So fans expect events to be 75% matches, 25% angles, and that's the same for TV shows. So I anticipate we'll probably have an hour and a half or 2 hour TV show, and then our events will probably be either 2 hours or 3 hours. But we'll look into that in a minute. Matches are rated on a ratio of between 30 to 70 and 70 to 30 in ring action popularity, depending on what gets the best rating. Okay? Fans are open minded and will accept any match type. Now, that is on some products, it's on this product. You don't get that on every product. There's a lot of products where they won't accept, extreme matches, hardcore matches. But this is a very open-ended kind of style, really. It's quite forgiving. Matches less than 15 minutes will not be able to achieve world-class scores. So you could have the best match in the world, but if it's only 14 minutes, you're not going to get a world-class score. Gimmicks will not be necessary, but will have an impact if used. There's a lot of products that make you use gimmicks, and if you don't, you'll get penalties. Each show must have at least 3 different match aims used. Regular, work the crowd, calm the crowd, and lift the crowd do not count. So when we get into booking matches, I'll show you what ones do count. I mean, things like you'll have a high spots match, you'll have a storytelling match, you'll have a wild brawl. There's all kinds of things, but we need to have at least 3 different ones on each show. Using crazy bumps or stunt bumps give boost to segments. Most comedy-based gimmicks cannot be used by stars or major stars. Having a wrestler be forced to unmask will add some heat to a segment, and having someone shaved bald as a forfeit can add a little heat to a segment. Every product's different. Some products share these attributes, some have different ones. As I say, this is very generic. There's no penalties and there's not really many boosts, apart from those couple at the bottom, really. A lot of products will give you penalties for certain things. So, for example, if I look at the original product that this company had, fans would expect events to be 85% and 15% angles, and TV shows to be 75% matches and 25% angles. That's not really what I came here to look at, but this hardcore style leads to high level of general wear and tear on the bodies of the workers, and injuries are common. So that might have held us back a little bit. It's fun to work with. If you want to do it in your own save, that's fine. But for the purposes of what I want to do and the way I book, I don't usually choose a product that has that. I usually actually normally use classic sports entertainment. Uh, Fans are open-minded and will accept any match type, so you've got that there again. And the matches less than 15 minutes won't be able to achieve world-class status. Some products have 5 minutes, some have 10, some have 20. Lengthy matches will tend to lose the crowd, so you've got to get at least 15 to get a high score, a world-class score. But too long, and they'll lose the audience. Fans will be put off by cheap endings to matches like count-out, DQs, and sports entertainment finishes. That's the one for me that put me off using that for this series. There's nothing wrong with that, really, but for this particular series, I want to show you how you can use disqualifications and count-outs, to help storylines along and that sort of thing. Eye candy matches will get mildly penalised. Comedy matches will get penalised. Ultra dangerous match setups like glass or explosives will get penalised. Angles that are primarily based on sex appeal will have their overall rating limited. So there's all kinds of penalties here, which again is fine if that's a product you want to use. And this one here is interesting as well, actually. So each show will need at least one match aimed at hardcore. Each show will need at least one match aimed at wild brawl. Each show will need at least one match aimed at car crash or mayhem. So there's 3 that you have to use, or one of those 2, but 3 you have to use each show. Whereas we've got a choice of ours. We can have storytelling in there as well if we want, or high spots. This company will find it difficult to attract sponsors. Now, our product didn't have a boost or a penalty for that, so we're kind of in the middle. We'll get sponsors, but they won't give us much money. So that's just an example of what we were going to come into. But as I say, we've gone into using the no style. So I'm just going to carry on playing the game now as I would normally play, and as we come across things, I will obviously show you how it's done, or how I do it at the very least. I do encourage you to ask questions in the comments. I do encourage you to give me ideas for booking and all that sort of thing if you want to get involved. It'd be great to make this a bit interactive. So, as I say, I'm now going to play this as I normally would, which obviously, next step, look at our roster. I'm going to rush through the roster somewhat. I know some of you might want to know who I've got, but we'll get there. We'll find out. But I don't want this episode to drag, so I'm just going to sort of tell you that I sort of have a few rules that I try to abide by, and one of those is I don't have young wrestlers. 24, 25 is probably my limit if they're really good, but even that I consider quite young. I prefer kind of to start people off kind of 27, 28, depending on how good they are. Also, anyone smaller than middleweight has got to be really good to be on my roster. We're talking kind of early to mid-90s Shawn Michaels good. This is the stage now where I get rid of a lot of people, and it gives me a bit of room to bring my own people in, and it just gets rid of people that I don't want. So I'm going to rush through this. I'm going to probably speed the video up. If there's any questions, leave them in the comments below. We'll talk about them in the next episode. I do go through every role on the roster. I start off with road agents, then I go referees, colour commentators, announcers. I just make sure I've got enough of them. What I got from that is we're desperate for backstage people. We need road agents, we need referees, we need a colour commentator. So let's look for those. And the skills I'm looking for in a road agent are psychology, experience, and respect. But again, we're a small company. We can't afford to, get the best. referee. Let's actually put a figure in here as well. So I made a couple of offers for some backstage people. Now we look at the actual wrestlers. And for this, when I do a search here, I always look for any in-ring role because it will also show me the people that are just occasional wrestlers. So I always look first to see if there's any to be decided. Nope. And then I go up, unimportant, recognizable, well-known star, major star, and I look for the people that I don't want, and I am ruthless. I'll get rid if they're too young, too small, just haven't got it. I will be ruthless. Now, the fact that we don't have many unimportant, I'm probably going to keep them all because we need jobbers. And I assume they're all on handshake deals, which is good because we can get rid of them when we want. I usually like to rotate my jobbers. I usually like to put them on 3 to 6 month contracts and just rotate them. So there's always someone fresh and new people for the stars to wrestle. So we're not going to get rid of any of these actually because we've only got 4. Although having said that, I didn't look at their size. Light heavyweight, lightweight, see, and very, very young. I'm going to offer him a contract, and I will tell you why. Because I've got these set up, by the way, stored templates. I've got a jobbers template that will automatically put them on 3 months. That's why I'm offering him a contract. Rather than have it as ongoing, and I just always forget to get rid of him, this way I know he's only around for 3 months. In 3 months, he'll be gone, and I'll bring someone else in. He's currently one half of our tag team champions. I don't mind smaller guys being in the tag team division as much, but small for me, and it's a personal preference, small is too small. So I'll probably either try and get him to increase his size. Yes, excellent. I mean, lightweight's still small, but at least it won't be as small. So I can kind of cope with him being in the tag team division. Terry Funk, he's the other way, isn't he? He's 53 years old. His stamina, 62, so I've got to be ruthless and get rid of him. He is a major star, so it's kind of like, no, do you know what? Do you know what I'm going to do? The sensible thing to do in this situation, and I've only kind of got into the habit of doing this recently. He's leaving at the end of his current deal. Okay, well, that's okay, because what I was going to do was put him on a contract for about a year, and he was going to become backbone or pass the torch, in which case he'd be quite willing to put people over. This is interesting, actually. He'll be leaving when his current deal expires, but it's ongoing, so it's not going to expire. I think I'm going to do what I said I'm going to do. He's going to job to future stars. Okay, so that's my ruthless getting rid of people. Any perception? Let's look at what we've got. I mean, we don't have many. We've got a few people that we'll be looking at getting over. What I want to do for this series as well is choose someone quite low down. And it might be someone that we end up just bringing in, actually. And I want to say, right, this guy, we want to be world champion. I'm not going to put a time on it, but that's kind of like, that's our project. That's what this series is about. It's going to be about that guy and us getting him over as much as we can to, to be a future world champion. It's probably not going to be any of these because they're all going. They're not hanging around. So it's probably going to end up being someone we bring in. So let's just have a look at what it says we've got. We need 20 wrestlers on the roster to avoid getting penalties for looking amateurish. We currently have 29, so we're safe. I would like to bring in a few more. We've got loads of teams, but a company this size, I don't usually have tag teams that companies of this size, but we'll keep them. That brings episode 1 to a close. Hopefully you've enjoyed it and taken something from it. If you have, great. If you haven't, well, maybe we'll in the next episode. Talking of which, we'll be looking at bringing in some wrestlers of our own. We'll be looking at that roster in a little bit more depth, looking at who we want to push and who we want to be jobbing to those we want to push. And we'll probably take a look at our events and TV as well, just look at what's on the schedule and start making some plans. I hope you've enjoyed this one. Please like and subscribe if you have, and please, please, please leave any questions below, and I'll either discuss them in the comments or we'll talk about them next episode. Take care. Goodbye.